Welcome to Season 5 of Coastal News, a home and away podcast. Here are your first headlines of 2025. Perri is charged with murder after laying low at Summer Bay Auto for most of the week, implicating half the bay in the process. Leah has had enough, and as Justin finally returns home, she's moving out. Bree is suspended from the hospital pending an investigation into her conduct, and Cash accepts he needs to let go and move on.
Hold me in your arms, don't let me go. I want to stay forever, not to each day, home and away.
Yabby Creek police are asking the public for assistance in tracking down 18-year-old Perri Hayes, last seen in Summer Bay yesterday. An arrest warrant has been issued for Mr. Hayes in connection to the death of his father, Carl Hayes. In other news, a 56-year-old woman...
An arrest warrant, you see? They've already decided that I'm guilty. Man, I need to borrow some money, please. I've got to get out of here.
Let's just think about this for a second, okay? Hey, no one knows you're here. Right, your phone is off. They can't trace you. You're safe here. And I'm going to keep it that way. Perri, look at me. I won't let you down. I promise.
We are Si and Sophie. This is Coastal News, a home and away podcast, your weekly episode companion podcast for your favourite Aussie soap.
Hello, Sophie, Season 5 of Coastal News.
Hello.
Stranger.
I know. Happy New Year. Can you say that now? It's like the 11th
Happy
of
New Year.
January.
Yeah, just got it in.
Yeah.
Blimey, what a break. What a break. We're back.
We're back. It flew by.
Quite literally.
It flew. Yeah.
I've got the giggles now. We've hit record. I don't know what's happened. Did you have a nice break from the podcast?
I did, thank you. Yeah, it's lovely, especially the first couple of weeks, which we spent in Sydney, which were amazing.
It was insane. I mean, obviously, listeners will know we've gone on and on and on and on about going there, and obviously we've plastered it all over the social medias. But I think we're going to chat about our trip, aren't we, a bit later on in the episode?
Yeah.
So stick around. Something worth sticking around for. Some behind the scenes stuff that we got up to, but wasn't it good?
It was so good. Yeah.
Still thinking about it now. The trip. It's January.
Oh yeah. I'm still looking at my photos and going, I can't believe I was there. I can't believe I was at Palm Beach. Yeah.
Yeah, meeting the people we were meeting.
Yeah. Crazy
That reminds
times.
me, I need to update Alf Stewart's Wikipedia to say he was played by me. You know what that?
For 2 minutes in Mail.
It was
dear.
good. Stick around later on. We'll chat more about it. How was your Christmas period? Did you have a good time?
It was lovely. It was quiet Christmas this year, very quiet, which was nice. Normally it's a bit chaotic, but this year was nice and quiet. I ate a lot of cheesecake and watched a lot of films and television. I got Disney app and I just watched everything on there. So I was watching. You told me 2 years ago to watch Only Murders in the Building, and I never got round to it. But because I got Disney, I was like, "Oh, I'm doing it." So I've watched like 3 seasons of that in like a week. So yeah,
did you enjoy it? It's good,
I did.
isn't
It is good. It did make me laugh. It just got more and more ridiculous as the seasons went on. I haven't watched the last season yet. So I'm expecting it to be even more extra by the end because it just kept getting weirder and weirder.
The cast is insane as well, isn't it?
It is really good, really good. So that was a good recommendation. Thank you. How was your Christmas?
Much of the same. Lots of films, lots of telly, chilling out, family time, trip to the hospital, party.
Just check that in the middle.
Yeah, much the same as last year, really.
Bless you. Not good.
It's a good time of year, isn't it? Just to do something for yourself and not get dressed.
Exactly. That's the best bit, isn't it? The just not even having to do anything. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have to do anything today. It was so good. I love that feeling. It's gone now
Yeah.
because I'm back at work.
I know.
But, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Ugh.
The and as soon as Christmas is out of the way, the sort of countdown to home as being back begins, and you gear up
Yeah.
for that, don't you? The
Yeah.
podcast cogs start getting oiled again.
Yeah.
And before you know it, here we are, episode 1 of 2025.
Yeah.
At the start of that mammoth journey. Mammoth journey. I was moonlighting a bit, though. You may have
You were.
noticed.
Yeah.
While we were away, because the one, like the first year in a few where Channel 5 don't put old episodes on, and I think, right, I'm going to get back from my holiday. I'm going to go to Palm Beach. It's all going to be very, very home and away. So I'm going to get back and switch off. The blooming show announces the tour.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And my mouth gets me into all sorts of situations. Before I know it, I'm interviewing half the cast of this tour. But it was a good laugh. It's a really fun episode. I had loads of fun recording it. Go and check it, the early years, to a couple of episodes before this one. It's, if you haven't heard it yet, go and check it out. And go and check out Home and Away Early Years gang coming to a theatre near you somewhere. Go and get your tickets if you're out and around the Salford one, which is where I'll be. Come and say hello, even.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, let's have a drink, but not Guinness. That'll make sense if you've heard the episode.
I would love to see a photo of you drinking Guinness. I'll pay for that.
Tastes like nosebleed. I might have one somewhere. I might have one. You know, when you're in Dublin and you're like, all right.
Oh no, I didn't have one when I went. I was like, no, not for me. It does just taste like blood in a glass. It's gross.
Doesn't it? I'm glad you agree. I'm glad you
Yeah.
agree. It's really irony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not for
Yeah.
me. I've got a sweet tooth. I need like Prosecco or cider or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
lighter as well. It doesn't sit. It just
No.
sits there, doesn't it?
It just sits.
But
Hopefully it doesn't come back up
that's
again.
Kimberly Cooper's tipple. So
Yeah, she doesn't look
that's
like a Guinness drinker, so that's quite surprising.
no. Yeah, I was surprised. Go and check out that interview, and also, which was super exciting, because you know what I'm president of, don't you?
Oh yes, Dana fan club president. Yep.
Managed to sit down with Ali Harris to discuss her winning the award that she won from our listeners last year at the Bogies. Best new character.
Newcomer? Yeah.
Yeah, she's been around about 18 months, but that's how far behind we are with it. And so she won, and we talked about it, and we chatted about Home and Away life. So that's the episode before this one, Year of Dana, as it's called. Go listen to that. That's a really good one for modern fans of the show. Someone current. She was really fun to speak to, and she loved us and the thought of the podcast, and she said she'd check us out. So if you're listening, Ali, hello.
And apologies.
All of the above. So a couple of, I was doing a few podcast bits here and there, going solo. You did the right thing. Enjoyed your break.
I did try to have a break this year. Yeah, I needed it. I was very close to burnout by the end of Christmas. So yeah, I needed a break. Sorry, but you did really well. I have listened to the episodes, and they are definitely worth a listen. So if you haven't checked them out, then please do.
There we go. As well, we're back. You may have noticed on our social media, your regulars will know you can join in the conversation with us. This podcast wouldn't be anything without you guys joining in with us. And you know how we go on about loving the conversation and the chit chat around the show. And most of you will know that most days we watch the show on air as it airs on First Look 5-star pace 6:30 every weeknight. Come along to X, formerly known as Twitter, and come and chat to us. We are trying, we mentioned on our last episode, the season 4 finale in November, if you cast your mind back, Soph, we did mention we were going to try our best to do something about the spoilerage for us. We want to enjoy the show as much as possible. We know it's not impossible to avoid, but we are going to be tweeting along every night on the hashtag Home and Away UK, Well, you'll have seen this week we've been doing that, and we've been reminding you and hashtagging you over to it. Come and join us on that hashtag to try and avoid some of the spoiler. And if you want to talk about spoilers, you can do it on the regular hashtag, and hopefully we won't see it. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. And give us any feedback if you've got any better ideas. Really.
Yeah.
We're on all the social media. So if you're not on X or Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on YouTube, you're on Blue Sky, come and find us and tell us your thoughts about the episodes. We'll give you a reply. Our handle is Coastal News Pod everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can email us, as many of you do, and we noticed last year a lot of you got on board with that. coastalnewspod@gmail.com. If you listen to the podcast and feel compelled to join in with the chat, drop us an email, and Sophie may just read it out when we get a chance on Your Say on the Bay. Other than that, everything should be very familiar to people. Do you like our new look, our little spring revamp?
Yes, I do. Yeah, our little new season, makeover.
Glow
We
up.
like to do that, don't we? A little new season look. Yeah, I think it's good. Definitely.
Yeah.
We needed
We've had
a
this
little
one-
change, didn't we? We've had this one for a year.
Yeah, well, a couple of years, I think now, really, when you think about it.
Is it? I thought we changed it the year before as well. We do tend to change up the logo a bit, don't we? Every now and again.
Yeah, we've definitely had this colour scheme throughout. I think we were ready
Oh yeah.
to.
Yes.
Yeah. With variations thereof, but it's nice. So we're doing a bit of a refresh, bit of a glow up. Let us know your thoughts. That'd be nice to hear from you. But other than that, all the content's the same. This is us here every week, every Saturday, doing your usual rambling on.
Yep.
One last thing to mention as well. We don't mention this very often, but we're at the top of the season. Let's get it out there. We don't ask you for money. We don't charge anyone. This podcast, we hope, is accessible to all and sundry. But if you feel like you want to give us a tip, or you want to buy us a brew, or anything, if you just feel like you just want to contribute in some way to the upkeep of the podcast, first of all, thank you for even considering it. It's not expected. It's never unappreciated either. But if you feel like you want to donate, you can do on our Buy Me a Coffee page. You can just do a one-off donation. You don't have to subscribe and get tied in. And that's buymeacoffee.com/Coastal News Pod. Link is in this and every episode's description. We don't ask you for it like every episode, do we? It's not something we talk about, but if it's there, if you feel like you want to give us a tip, and any money, it's Buy Me a Coffee. Any money that's collected will just go into sort of promoting the podcast and whatnot. We don't keep anything. I
think we use it to buy mugs, don't we? Because we give away Coastal News mugs every now and again for if the Coastal News klaxon alert goes off on the show. So I think we use most of our money just to buy a mug to send to somebody, don't we? So
that's very true. Yeah, it's been used. That's what it's been used for, and that'll continue to be the case, no doubt.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone who has done that in the past. There have been a few.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Right, should we talk about Home and Away? Because it's back and we've watched 6 episodes already.
I know. I actually forgot that it was 6 because obviously the random Friday, because it's first look, it's got to start before the rest of them. So it's quite a lot when you think about it. Like, it's usually quite hard to get through 5 in a week, isn't it? So
I know.
6.
And I was thinking, oh gosh, the season finale episode we did last year was only 4, and that managed 2 hours. So I was like, oh god.
Oh no, we could be here for a week. Oh dear. Okay, let's get on with it then.
Let's get on. We're back in the bay, Sophie, and Perri, you'll remember, is in shock. Dad bod is in the pool, and he's saying things like, he's dead. So Tane's got to calm him down a bit. I actually thought, for someone who just murdered his dad accidentally, he was actually quite well together. I know he was panicking a bit, but I don't know what I'd be doing. But I thought it was quite well together, to be honest.
I think he was just in shock, wasn't he? Just sat there and staring into the dark. I was like, oh god.
And obviously, the question on everyone's lips, Tane's like, tell me what happened. Like, come on, yeah, tell us what happened, because we didn't see it. And he explains he was holding his head down and he just rolled him over and he must have hit his head. And the next thing he knows, he's face down in the pool of his blood. Now, in hindsight, you know, like, I loved this. Like, we were gushing about this episode and this cliffhanger, weren't we, last year? And it was all great, and what a big twist. It was the other person who ended up dead, blah, 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 blah. I was, you know, when you have time to digest it, you know, you're thinking about it on a 24-hour flight. And I was thinking, do you know what would have been really good is if, you know, that shot of when Tane came out the house, found the pool, and then we just see the body in the pool and then cut. We don't know whether it's Dad or Perri. Or, you know, I think that would have been a better way to end it. You know, like only when I had time to think about it, I thought, oh yeah, if it was like a who's in the pool type cliffhanger, that would have been pretty cool.
That would have been more of a cliffhanger. Although I guess we probably would have had it spoiled by the Ozpace, so we probably would have known who it was anyway.
Yeah, that's true. But how cool would it have been if you managed to avoid all that, and then it comes back in January, and then the camera pans from Tane's face, and then we see Perri on the floor at the wall. That would have been such a good reveal, wouldn't it? So he's explaining that this accident happened with his dad. And he's regretting things he's going through it all, isn't he? I should have just said yes. I should have just done the job he wanted me to do. Why didn't I go? Tane's calming him down. Go for a shower, cool off. Go for a shower, yeah. Just murdered someone. Good idea. We have to call the police. So Tane calls the police. You're going to be okay. Don't worry about it. The cul-de-sac quickly fills up with sirens and lights, and Rose is first responding. You're thinking, great, we're getting nowhere here. Rose is here. Another crime unsolved, Rose. Who did break into the diner at that time? Who knows? Oh dear. And Tane takes her into the house. He's like, he's in here. This is where he is. But Perri, he's gone. Moonlight flit. He's done a runner in the night. Has Perri. Is he panicking, Sophie? What's your thoughts here? Like,
oh God,
what's going on? Do you believe him?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think we had a conversation before the break where we said, hopefully we'll see what happens, because obviously it left it with body in the pool, Perri at the wall, and you and I were like, oh, surely they're going to show us in like flashbacks or tell us, because it. At the time, from what we saw of this altercation, it looked like Perri was going to drown. It didn't look like there was any way for him to get his dad's quite a big guy, and he was like on top of him, pushing his head into the pool, and it looked like there was no way out of this situation. And then obviously we come back, when it's dark, and he has somehow managed to flip this round so that he did overpower him and he's drowned him, or whatever's happened to him. He's hit his head and he's drowned. Like, how did he get out of that chokehold that he was in? Like, and we don't see it. And we have to this point of the, what we've seen so far, we haven't had that flashback of what's happened. It didn't happen when he was explaining it to the lawyer. You know what I mean? He wasn't sat there explaining to the lawyer, and we weren't seeing it from his point of view, how he got out of this. So I'm like, I don't know what to think, because I want to believe him. But also, like, I just want to know how the hell he got out. Like, everybody needs to know how to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
Like, from a self-defense point of view, like, how did he do it?
And it'd have to be some role, wouldn't it? Some overpowering to roll him over, crack his head so he's unconscious, and then face down in the pool. I mean, that is some doing.
It's crazy. And then if you think, like, he's had how many, like, jiu-jitsu, whatever Tane does with him? I don't know. Is it jiu-jitsu or something? I don't know. He's had a couple of lessons with him.
Taekwondo or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know whether that's enough to be able to get out of that situation. I think we needed a flashback. We needed to see how it happened. And then, like Rose said, well, you got him in the water, but, did you check for a pulse? Did you check he was actually dead at that point? Or did you just panic? Because it sounds like from the autopsy that we're hearing that he's hit his head, which is what Perri thought killed him. But actually, that's not how he died. He's died from drowning. So what
Yeah.
did when his body went in the water, what did Perry do? Did he just literally go back and sit on the wall and wait for him to drown? I don't know. Like, what
Well,
happened?
this is what's casting doubt for me.
Yeah.
So you're right. We've still got a lot of blanks that need filling in, don't we? And
Mm,
you and I have been real big fans of Perry,
yeah.
and as a character, and his stories is just heartbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've really took him under our wings on this podcast. So I wanted to believe him, and I think that empowered me to believe him. As unrealistic as it sounded, that it would be able to do it from the position where they were in when we last saw them. With Perry underwater. I mean, he says it eventually when he eventually starts talking to his lawyer later in the week. He says, "One more push of my head under, and I knew I was dead. It was me or him," something along those lines. And you're thinking, so where did your strength come from? What actually happened does need to be flashed back. I agree. We need to know, and it's important because when the autopsy comes in and says he hasn't died from a blow to the head or a kick to the arsehole or whatever, he's died from drowning. And I'm a bit like, as he drowned him,
Yeah.
and he's lying, and like, if that is the case, I want to see it because I'm going to need to see it to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can understand it. I can understand it if he had killed him. You know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't an accident, if he'd managed to overpower him, and maybe he knocked him unconscious, and then he went in the pool and he didn't get him out the pool and he let him drown. I can see why he would do that. And I could have sympathy for him because it must be really hard to want to save someone that tried to kill you and has treated you the way that his dad's treated you. It must be really difficult to want to help someone in that situation. So I can totally understand why. I can also imagine that he could have panicked, and he could have been just in shock and just just had one of those out of body moments where he just didn't know what to do and just froze. I can understand that as well. But then there's also that possibility that he actively drowned him, like he held him underwater so that he drowned.
Yeah.
But we don't know, do we? All we've got is like how we think it could have played out based on Perry's character and what we've seen of him so far. He doesn't seem to be a malicious murderer type person.
He doesn't.
So
you do start second guessing it, don't you?
You
start
do.
going, well, actually, I've only known him 5 minutes, and he has got. He has been in juvie, and he's been brought up around it. You start piecing the story to the narrative, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, so we don't know whether it's accident, manslaughter, or murder at this point. And
No.
I don't think I could be. I don't think I could be shocked if it's any of those.
No, same. I mean, between the autopsy and that coming out, and him absconding from the house of the night, Rose is very suspicious that Tane's stashing him somewhere. She's doing house calls every day, and he's actually bumped into Theo, who's just asking him out for a drink, getting away from his family life drama, and ends up stashing him in the garage. And I thought Perry was quite clear, really, that he was escaping the law, and Theo seemed to go along with it quite easily. Considering what he's had going on in his life, I thought you and I have praised Theo, is what I'm trying to say, to be someone who's really good to talk to. He's good at talking people around. He's actually got the most adult head on his shoulders than most of the people in the Bay these days.
Yeah.
How I was a little disappointed that he went along with it for as long as he did, because Perry seemed to be at that garage most of the week,
He did.
hiding out.
But I think it was because of Theo's Achilles heel. Theo's Achilles heel is his own past with his own father. And I think he probably...
I've missed that.
I think he put himself in Perry's shoes and thought, if there's an opportunity where my dad was going to beat me to a pulp and it was like him or me, would I have done the same? And therefore...
of course.
And I think it's the only reason why it could have been... I think the only person it could have been was Theo because of that reason. I think anyone else would have said, no, this is serious. You're all over the news. they're saying it's murder. There's an arrest warrant out for you. This is it now. We've got to give you up. You've got to go and hand yourself in. And I think the only reason it worked was because Theo's got that. That could have easily been my story situation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're
He's
right.
got more empathy, hasn't he?
How did I miss that? That's obviously what it is. Yeah. Well done. Thank you.
I sometimes pay attention, you know.
Right over my head, that. But that makes total sense now you say it. You know, of course, he's got. It's from a place that he's been Perri at some point. You know, you know, he's not battered it, but he's been running from facing up to a real brutal truth. You're right. Yeah. I did eventually. It's after a running in, because homicide have took over the case since the autopsy comes in and finds out he died of drowning. So it quickly becomes quite serious again. And Theo sort of tests the water when he runs into Rose, and finds out that actually he's in deep doo-doo. He's accessory to murder. As is Tane. They're in deep trouble here. Panics and takes Tane to him, and ultimately Tane has a bit of a talking to Perri at the garage, doesn't he? You need to decide what kind of man you're going to be. Look at the head. And
the accent's been you had a really good Aussie accent when we were in Australia. By the time we left, it was almost perfect, and now it's like slightly skewed.
That was me trying to be Kiwi. Sick of the heat.
I think you nailed it when we were there. I think it's slightly gone now.
Yeah, I've lost it. Sorry.
You've
You don't
lost
use it, you lose it, you see. That's what it is. So yeah, so he ends up going down to the cop shop, doesn't he? Perri, that's his name, and he says, you know, I'm turning myself in, and it's all a bit like he's completely unawares of the autopsy at this point, and it's all just timing's completely wrong. You're thinking he's messed this up if you'd have just, you know, spoke sooner, but that's what being young and naive's all about, doing the wrong thing and bolting when things get tough. But do you know, I've got a gut feeling, you know, I'm feeling really bad about this. I'm a bit like, he's brought half the bay down with him, you know. Theo, we leave the week with Theo going in, handing himself in, thinking he's facing 20 years in jail. Matt Evans is probably going to Europe on tour when this was filmed back in April or whenever it was. So, you know, I'm a bit like, he's brought everyone down with him from his actions. I'm feeling really bad. I'm feeling like Perri might have done his dad in.
Yeah, it's possible, isn't it? It's possible. And I wouldn't blame him. Like,
no,
I wouldn't blame him if he just, I don't know, he knew he wasn't dead and he just left him in the pool and didn't pull him out, you know, just left him to drown. I don't think I would blame him, because I don't think I think it's hard, because you hope you're never going to be in that situation. But to help someone that's tried to kill you must be really hard. It must be a really hard decision to make. And then you drown really quickly, don't you? So it's like, you know, if you don't make that decision to help them quickly, they're it's kind of like they're dead before you've even really decided. So it's difficult, and I feel bad for him. I feel really bad. I
do. It's looking like he's not getting bail. It looked really sad, didn't he, getting locked up in that cell?
I know. And when he's having his mugshot taken, and I just feel so bad for him, because I knew this was coming, because and Tane talked about it this week. He said, you joined my program because you wanted to make better decisions and you wanted to be a better person. And I was like, yeah, and you failed him, Tane. Like, you literally, the first episode we met Perri, he said, next time I'm getting into trouble, next time I do something stupid, it's not going to be juvie, it's going to be jail. I'm nearly 18, and next time it's going to be serious, and I don't want to go to jail. I'm absolutely terrified of going to prison. He said all of this like the first day we met him, and then look where we are. Tane has not helped him at all.
No.
Like,
I wonder,
it's so frustrating.
And I wonder if Tane is going to at some point sort of hold that mirror up and realise some of this. Who knows?
I hope so. Because I kind of want him. I know he didn't. he's not an accessory to murder, because I think he's done himself no favors getting him to shower and get rid of any evidence that was on him. And I don't know what they could have found on him, but it just looks dodgy that they've tried to hide something, haven't they, by getting him in the shower and taking his clothes off. They've contaminated the crime scene by doing that. So that was stupid. So if he does get caught up in this as an accessory, and he's not, like, he's innocent really of that. Apart from that, he did find out where Perri was, and he didn't report it, but he did have a chat with him that eventually turned himself in. So I'm actually think Tane's done okay in this situation. I'm not saying he's done anything wrong here. I think all the wrong he's done is before this point. But if he was to get found guilty of it as an accessory, I actually do think that's the wake up call that possibly Tane needs, because he's been an arsehole all year, and he needs a wake up call. He needs to be sat in the back of that police car. He needs to be shook, because he got away with baby kidnap shit so easily.
Well, this is it, and with baby on the way, like, what's he doing this high risk stuff for?
Yeah, exactly.
Like he promised Harper that he'd be there. Like I was thinking that watching these episodes, thinking Harper ought to be more pissed off about this.
And Harper's also somewhat to blame. I mean, as soon as Perry's turned 18, he got completely dropped by the care system. She no longer got a social worker. And she's also took her eye off the ball, because he's not my problem anymore. He's an 18-year-old adult. I do think they've got some responsibility here. They convinced him to stick around in the Bay. They convinced him that they could help him. They could help him to turn his life around, and they've literally made it worse. I mean, I was trying to think, if he hadn't stayed with Tane, if Tane hadn't told him to stand up for himself with his dad, what would have happened? Perri would have stayed at home with his dad. His dad would have got him to do a job, which is probably going to be a robbery. He would have gone to jail, yes, but not for murder. He would have gone to jail for robbery. So he would have been in a better situation if he'd actually stayed with his dad. And that's why I'm angry about it, because I'm like, you literally took this kid's life and thrown it down the toilet for him. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It is. And Perri should have told Tane his dad was in town as soon as he saw him.
He should have. And the only reason he didn't was because Tane has always he's always flapping, such a flake. He's always like flapping about something else that's going on. And he was flapping about the baby and Harper and all that stuff. And then Perri didn't feel like he was number one priority, because he hasn't been the whole time.
Yeah. Can't argue with you, Sophie. Can't argue. I think you're right.
So annoying.
Yeah, I know.
Comedy moment of the week, though, I have to say, and no disrespect to the actress that played her, but when Tane was saying, why have they said, the work experience lawyer and someone that's just come out of school, and I was looking at it and I was like, she's 35 if she's a day. She's not a work experience lawyer. I'm sorry. Is it by TV? She didn't look like an 18-year-old.
No, she didn't.
I need to sort out the resolution on my television, but she did not look like she just left school to me.
No.
She looked like a 35-year-old woman.
Yeah, she looked like Catherine Ryan.
She did, before the face work. I'm sorry, that woman was young, but not a whippersnapper, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. She weren't wet behind the ears, was she?
No, not at all. I didn't understand that.
And I'm not being
I was
funny.
Like, what?
He's complaining when he's rang legal aid. What are you talking about, man?
I know. And then they sent me a juvie. I was like, excuse me, that woman is a woman. I'm sorry. Just made me laugh, because every time they said she was really young, I was like, compared to what? Like, the Roman Empire? Like, I'm confused. I don't get it. Oh God.
Oh, no.
Anyway, just me.
Someone else who looks a bit young, Leah, for her years, dressed up to the nines. I forgot all about this. That just made me laugh when we cut to her. Dressed up to the nines, like she's going to the Logies, whoever said that last season. Waiting for Justin to come home with that candlelight. I thought, well, that's going to be cold. It's been there since November.
Dear.
And he doesn't come home, obviously. He's up sleeping in his car. She's distraught, actually, Leah, isn't she? Do you remember in the season finale, she was leaving him voicemails saying, if you don't come home, we're done. I've had enough. This is like, I'm at the end of my tether now. She's had that meeting with the husband who's put all this stuff in her head. And obviously her mind is spinning out something rotten at this point. And he's up in God knows where with the bimbo. Now, then we have this scene where she gets in the car, wakes him up, and says, "I know you're married, kiss me anyway." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm married, I'll kiss you anyway." Mwah. In the back of this car. And I was like, what? I choked on my coffee.
And then what was it?
Then Leah woke up. It was a dream.
It was a dream. So is Leah psychic now? Because she dreamt that he was in the back of his car in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. That she knew he was there and that's what he was doing. Yeah.
It's weird that I didn't because I texted you and I said, "Oh, P.S. Leah's psychic." Pass it on. Like, what the hell? Because how did she know? Because obviously the end of the dream where they were kissing was obviously fabricated. That didn't really happen. That was a nightmare essentially. But how did she dream that it happened in the car?
Or did it happen, Sophie? Did it happen and it was made to look like Leah was dreaming it? I don't know.
No,
I don't trust anything now.
I think it was a nightmare. I think it was Leah's nightmare. I just think it to be full nightmare, it needed to be in the cabin where we hadn't been.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
or somewhere.
So Leah could be making it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be fabricated.
It was a bit specific in the car, wasn't it? Knowing that he's lost his keys and he's sleeping in the back of his car. Like, how would Leah know any of that? I know what you mean.
Exactly. Because if you were genuinely having a nightmare, if you're thinking worst case scenario in your head, like your partner's cheating on you and you have a nightmare about it, it's not going to be in the back of the car. Like, that's one of the last places you'd kind of imagine them to be having. You'd think of a hotel or like a restaurant or a bar, or you know what I mean? Like, you think of not the back of his car in the cabin.
You imagine
in the
them
woods.
doing all sorts, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which happens to be where he is. It's just
It's too weird. It was too weird.
I tell you, it wasn't
had
as
to
weird
trick
as...
us. Yeah. It had to trick us, but
yeah.
it's just but
with
when
the shock.
Yeah, but when it wasn't real, I was like, yeah, but the beginning of it was too specific. It's too weird.
It cast doubt on whether it was a dream or not for me. You know,
Yeah.
We'll see. He's quite adamant he'd never cheat. We know, and he eventually rocks up home because at sunlight he takes a walk and gets signal quite quickly. Like he could have done that 24 hours ago. Too late, pal. Leah's packed a bag and gone. But by the time he goes back up for his car, like that was even funnier for me that she's just stood there for 6 hours. Like,
she's like, oh, I tried to look for the keys. Not very well. Like, I'm sorry. I went back and watched the clip where she threw the keys away, and she just literally throws them like 6 foot to her side. If she'd had all that time, like, because he left it, didn't he? He went for a walk and he managed to get back to the bay and get his spare key, and then get a taxi all the way back to the cabin. She's had all that time on her own. She could have been scouring all of that grass. I'd have found them keys. Who's gone off with them? Well, yeah, that's true. But then she hasn't got signal either, and she can't. She'd have to walk in those heels. What was their plan? Was she just going to stay there forever? I don't know.
Silly hussy.
I don't get it. I'd have found them keys. They were not far away. I don't know. Maybe a dingo came and stole them. I don't know. Where are the keys? I need to know. He should have come out there with a metal detector and gone beep, beep, beep. Here they are.
I know. Like you said, they didn't go far, did they?
No.
The signal is only just down the valley, like, and it did give us, you know, that comedic or sort of quite dramatic scenes between Leah and Justin, but quite like, don't bother coming home because I won't be here and all that stuff. And he comes home and the drawers are empty, and you know, she turns up at Summer Bay House. I've left Justin. Like, everything's gone very dramatic, hasn't it? And you know, running around saying I've left, and then he's running around town looking for her, and everyone's like, what's going on? You're just thinking this has just been blown into this huge mountain. All because she had this conversation with the hubby. Now, when they do eventually find each other and try and talk about it, it ends up being Leah's fault. Like, there's an apology, And then, like, Justin turns it on her and says, so you actually thought I was cheating and you didn't trust me and you thought I would do that to you. How dare you? I'm moving out now instead. Thinking, bloody hell, one in, one out.
Yeah.
Now, I don't often defend Leah that much on here. But how on earth, what was she meant to think? You've lied to her for weeks and weeks and weeks. She then has the husband coming up saying, yeah, the wife's lying to me too. What is the girl supposed to think? And she never accused him outright. But, you know, at the end of the day, he was lying to her. If he'd have been honest and upfront with her, she'd have had nothing to worry about, wouldn't she? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
How did this end up being Leah's fault,
And
Sophie?
and
Explain it
how?
to me.
Well, I can't because I totally am on your side. I don't know. I don't know how it's her fault. And also, it's just comedy. The fact that he didn't tell her that he was driving. I've forgotten her bloody name now. Driving her around.
Claudia.
Claudia, that's it. Driving Claudia around with her broken arm. And the reason he didn't tell her was because he didn't want an argument. Well, look what's happened. You've had a massive Barney, and your missus has left and went to live at Alf's house. You know, it's just the thing that you were trying to avoid has now been escalated times a million.
Yeah.
Just tell her. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't understand this. Where we're going with this.
Yeah. You've now got Maz slap bang in the middle of another breakup doing a tarot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
it's just becoming insanely wide, and it doesn't need to be. And I'm sorry, you have got no right kicking up a stink saying you don't trust me when
No.
you've been lying. You're the liar. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And
I'm
actually,
really cross about it.
when you think about it, you know, after Claudia came around and had that conversation with Leah, and she listened to her, and she said, like, you know, your husband loves you, and he wouldn't cheat on you, and it's me, and it's my fault, and I'm sorry, and she left.
Yeah.
Not long after that, Leah she actually forgave Justin quite quickly, because I think I still would have been a bit sore about the fact that he'd been lying for weeks and weeks and weeks and doing this all behind my back, and then it led to this, and then it led to this stupid argument which didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
I think I'd have still been a bit like, well, that was completely pointless. If you just told me in the beginning, I wouldn't have had to go through any of this, and it wouldn't have been. I would have known where you were. I would have been able to come and get you, you know, because you would have told me the truth. But she got over that really quickly because, you know, they were in the kitchen and she said, "Oh, let's open that bottle of champagne we were supposed to have last night." And I thought, whoa, she's come round really fast, because Leah does like to hold a grudge, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
this could be a couple of days of them avoiding each other while she's annoyed that he's been lying. But she came round really quickly. And he didn't jump on that and take advantage of the fact that she forgave him for all the stuff that he literally went, "No, I'm going to burn this down. I'm going to burn this all down, and I'm going to move out myself and go and live in the motel." And I was like, oh God, you had the perfect opportunity there to just bury it all and sweep it under the carpet, but you went and burned it down.
You'd have got away with it, lad.
Yeah,
You'd have got away with it.
He could have had champagne and, like, you know, champagne afternoon sex, because that's where that was heading. But no.
Ultimately, like, we don't want too much trouble between these two, so I hope this gets reconciled quickly. We're only 12
it does make me
months
laugh though. When I was going to say, when did we think this was actually written, this scene? Because I can't help thinking that these two got together in real life, and then the writers went, right, get him to kiss someone else.
Let him up.
Because they've been together for so long, and I don't remember any time where he's kissed someone behind her back.
I know.
Can't think of anyone. And then all of a sudden they're a couple IRL, and then he has to kiss someone on camera. And I was like, they are messing with him.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's in the Blue Mountains with Megaslut. Yeah.
It did make me laugh, because I was like, oh, this is what you get for looking lips in real life. You're gonna have to kiss someone on camera now. I did laugh about that. Was it just a troll? Was it just the behind the scenes troll, this whole thing, just to get him to cheat on her on camera? I don't know. It's weird.
I'd love to be part of the story team for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's play with them. Can you imagine the big board, just a Leah board? Right, what we're going to do? I've been rubbing my hands together, but looking at the right. What should we do, lads?
Let's mess with them. It's hilarious. I would have done the same. I would have been like, right, let's get an affair in here somehow. Like, that's hilarious. Oh dear, bless him. That's so funny. Let's hope it doesn't go on forever though, because I can't stick it. And neither can Theo. Bless him. He hasn't got time for this.
I know.
He hasn't got time. Yeah.
No. Again, he's the one being the most grown up. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bree, she's back home fuming that Levi said he'll report her. You'll remember that dramatic scene in the finale last year.
Yeah.
Remy's asking her to explain what on earth she's going on about. She goes through what happened at the hospital, doesn't she, with him? And he just reassures her that she's a capable doctor. But I tell you what Remy does, which is something that I've been worth noting, is every time she starts opening up to him, he goes, "Yeah, speak to your counsellor about that." Like, have you noticed? Or like, he'll ask her about work or something she's upset about, and then he goes, "Have you tried speaking to your counsellor about that?"
I hadn't actually realised, but you're right. That's so funny. He's not really a touchy-feely guy, is he,
No,
Remy?
there was like 3 occasions this week where he's like, "You okay?" "No, I'm not actually, blah, blah, blah." "Oh, have you spoke to your counsellor?"
Someone that actually gets paid to listen to your shit. That's so
Oh,
funny.
it was funny. I mean, obviously, later on, as the week unfolded, it was because she admits she hasn't been going to the counsellor, and that's why he kept mentioning it. But it tickled me every time. I thought, oh, here we go. He's going to point her to the counsellor again in a minute, and then he does. It was so funny.
Well, it proves that she's lying, doesn't it? It proves that she's capable of lying to him because she hasn't been going to see the counsellor like she's been saying. So I get it, but that is hilarious. I hadn't really clocked it. That he's just like, yeah, that's really bad. Have you been to your counsellor?
Don't be bothering me with this.
I'm only your boyfriend. I don't get paid for this. That's
Did make me
hilarious.
laugh. Now, she's not even truthful about what's going on with her, really, is she? Not fully.
No.
And he has to start piecing the jigsaw together when Marilyn's having a go at her left, right, and centre. I mean,
I like this
Maz is on fire. Yeah,
I like this Maz.
She's a boiling, isn't she, inside?
Yeah.
Maz. And she says something like, "Oh, when she lets her know that she's being suspended." Good. I'm like, oh God, Marilyn.
I think I said the same at the same time though.
So she gets suspended, doesn't she, pending this investigation by the hospital tribunal. Called it. We said that had happened, didn't we? And she's really unhappy about it. There's this point where she concocts them going to Salt for lunch so that she'll run into Levi, and of course she does. Remy sort of tries to move her away as quick as possible, and then has this run-in with Marilyn, so she goes back in and has a go at Levi. Mac then gets involved. I love Mac and her one-liners, because Emily Ware's delivery is just so good. That where she's like, "Excuse me, it's none of your business. Actually, this is all of my business, and you can get out of it." I was like, "Ooh, rewind."
Yeah, that was a good line.
Yeah. Although it's not actually all of her business yet. It's pending loan approval, which has got disaster written all over it, hasn't it? Yeah. So I mean, especially when you've got a surgeon boyfriend with money in the bank and no mortgage, you know what I mean? Now, so he does eventually. She goes up to the farmhouse, doesn't she? And they do eventually have a calmer chat. And she's asking him to retract the hospital board report, actually. And he says, "Sorry, but no, doctors need to be, they should be able to hold themselves accountable. And you don't seem capable of doing that right now." So even people like Levi, who is a colleague, is distant from her, can see that she's not right. And I'm like, this is validating Dana here. She tries Dana first. She tries to say to Dana, can you vouch for me? Have they spoken to you yet? And Dana's like, "No, I'm going to tell the truth. You're a hot mess," to paraphrase.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit like, Dana's a bit vindicated here because up to this point, she's the only one of any professional capacity at the hospital who's been trying to raise the alarm about it. And then it unfolds that obviously Marilyn has to tell Mr. Stewart what went on, and they have a walk and talk. Love a walk and talk on the beach. And that seems to spook Alf a bit, so much so that he gets in the car and drives to Marimbula. Like, not even his heart attack made him go and see his wife, but this did. This
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused about Alf's response. Like, is he getting away so he wants to think about, what's going on with Bree? Is he feeling lucky and wants to save every moment with his missus? I'm a bit confused about his initial reaction and just skipping town.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I went with the second one. I thought it was more, he was so close to death this time. He didn't even realise that he was until Marilyn said, you nearly died. And it hadn't really occurred to him. He just thought it was an angina attack. And an angina attack is obviously meant to be less serious than a heart attack. But then the fact that it could have escalated, if Levi hadn't stepped in, he could have died. I think hearing the words "you could have died," which is what she said to him, I think that's made him think, right, well, I'm lucky to be here, and don't waste another minute, like go and see Martha. Because when was the last time he did? When was the last time he went to Marimbula? But should he be? The thing was, I got really nervous when he got in the car and started to drive away on his own. He didn't tell anybody he was going, and I was like, nobody. What if you have another angina attack in the car on the way there, and you haven't told Martha you're coming, you haven't told anyone you've left? Like that was given. I was thinking, is this the next storyline? Are we gonna? Is he going to go off the road now, and that's going to be part of the storyline? He shouldn't have been let out of hospital. He should have been given better aftercare, advice that he shouldn't be driving to Marimbula, which is like half a day in the car. But I'm assuming he got there okay, and it's not going to be that. But I don't know.
Yeah, he's just needed to take himself off.
Yeah, it wasn't spelled out as much as it probably could have been. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it was a bit strange, wasn't it? And there's all this talk about Maz rattling around the house on her own, so I think Rue's going to be back any second.
Oh, joy.
Won't come back when her dad's dying, but
no,
that's another thing. But yeah, so we're in this weird position now where Bree is asking everyone to basically lie. She's not facing up to the truth. She's being horrendous to Remy. Like, I'd have just told her to 0121 when she said that about his career, playing the guitar.
I mean, we all think it, but we don't say it to his face,
Well, I mean, you've got to support the arts, so... Whether it pays the bills or not.
Well, that's her boyfriend, and she knows that.
I know.
Like she's chosen to be with him. She knows what he's like. This was her decision, and then she's thrown it back in his face, and that was cold.
Yeah. Well, she's supposed to be an intelligent woman. She must be able to see what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's what we're supposed to take from this. She's not seeing the wood from the trees, is she? She's not thinking rationally. She's not herself. And hopefully she realizes it now. Enough people are telling her now, go and see a counsellor. Oh dear,
not good. You know what? I forgot to ask you about this. What did you think of the wine glass shot that was in this scene? One of these scenes.
Oh yeah, I
Bree and
loved
Remy.
I
thought you would.
Somewhere else.
It was really. I was watching that. Like, I think it started off in Mac's house, didn't it? Mac was pouring a wine for Levi, and then the wine glass kept filling up. But then Remy picked it up and gave it to Bree, didn't he? I was like, I texted you and I was like, you're gonna love this.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for stuff like that.
I thought that was really good. Not seen that before. Yeah, enjoyed that.
And it's stuff like that we, a simple shot. But it's just doing something like that that's different, and you'd expect to see that on other shows. You don't. It's different to your general soap editing.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what sets you apart, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yes, I did appreciate the wine glass shot. Yeah.
I think I said arty wine thing.
Oh yeah, you did. Which obviously meant nothing to me because you'd watched it before me. And I was like, what's she talking about?
There's an arty wine thing on this episode, and you were like, what? I enjoyed it. Oh dear.
Like she's gone to Lulu. Right, Cash is back from Gary's with Michelle and learns about all the goings on while he's been gone at his house, body in the pool and all that. Tells Tane, oh, this looks bad. And he's almost stopping Michelle from leaving all the time, isn't he? This is weird. Don't go. Let's do this, let's do that, stay another night, let's go out for dinner. And Eden clocks it right away. And Michelle's saying that, I'll go to the motel, and Cash thinks it's because it's about the body in the pool, but it's might have something to do with it, let's face it. But it's more to do with him being a bit of a creep and not wanting to let her breathe and have space.
Yeah.
And she ends up having some good, a good chat with Eden and which I'm glad at, because at one point before the season end last year, we didn't even know if that was going to be possible. We knew it was something that Eden really needed to do to get close to her as well. So I'm glad that happened. But after this night in the motel, she's decided that she's going to go. And she says to Cash, goodbye. Felicity gave me a chance to live. I need to go and do that. And he seems to have agreed reluctantly. But I'm a bit sort of thinking on now where Cash goes from here. He said he's going to go back to work. He's now got a murder in his house situation going on. Is he going to be thrown into the next drama and we carry on, or are we going to see Cash spiral a little bit here because he's lost what's close? The only thing of Felicity's that's still alive, if you like, the closest thing to her. And which would you rather see? I'm not sure I want to see him go deep and deep and deep and dark.
No. Yeah, good point. What do we want to watch as a viewer? I don't want to watch him spiraling anymore. But then where do you go from here? You can't just make him happy immediately either, can you? Because that's weird. That's kind of what happened with Tane. He was in the depths of depression after Flick died, and then he finds out he's got a baby and he's walking on the moon. It's like,
I know, never to be mentioned again.
It's really weird, and it's nice that Tane's not been dragged down, and he's got all this other stuff going on. He's got Perri and he's got the baby to worry about now, so he is distracted and he's not like in the depths of grief. But he's the ex-husband, and that kind of makes sense. The brother that she lived with, that's basically been her only family member forever.
Yeah.
Like, if he suddenly gets happy now because he's like, well, everyone's moving on, so I've got to move on with my life. That's going to be weird, isn't it? So what do you do with him? I don't know how you go from here.
No. I think it's going to be more relationship stuff with Eden, which, again, I'm not too thrilled about. Because there was that line, wasn't there, where she's chatting to him and she's like, great, everything's moving on, you're getting your job back together, she's moved on now, Michelle's gone, and you get yourself back together. Anything else you want to try and get back together? And he's like, nope. I'm thinking, oh, for God's sake.
But he said it in a way that I didn't believe him. Did you believe him? Because I was thinking, no, he's still got feelings for her. He's just doing that weird, I don't want to hurt you, I love you, so I can't be with you thing still. How do we get past this? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's a circle I'm fed up of going round.
Yeah.
So I sort of want him to do the Tane thing, like you meant, like, that comparison you're making, where he has something else to get on with, some big next police drama that goes down in the Bay or whatever.
Yeah.
But I suspect not. I suspect we're going down a Cash and Eden rabbit hole.
Possibly. I was getting a bit annoyed at Eden that she was sort of coming around so much and trying to talk to him so much, and I think maybe we needed this scene to sort of let her go a bit. She seemed to be clinging on to him, and I kept thinking, oh, you're always there, and you're always like, I don't know. I know she obviously still loves him and cares about him, but I felt like she was being a bit too clingy with him this week, and I thought, oh, you need to back off and leave him a bit. But maybe we needed that sort of her to hear him say, nope, not interested, still not going to talk about it, for her to actually back off now and be like, right, okay, I need to get on with my life now. So I think rather than Cash getting on with his life, I think Eden probably needs to get on with hers, and then maybe he'll see her moving on and think, actually, I've made a massive mistake here. I don't want her to move on.
That might
And
be too little too late then.
yeah,
The
that's
one
true.
that got away. If that
Oh,
happens. But I think you're right. That scene was her confirmation, right, to stop trying.
yeah,
You know, if he's willing
yeah,
to do it for everything else, but not her, it
yeah,
must be a personal thing. And if I was in her shoes, I'd be like, well, I'm going to stop trying now.
yeah,
Like, I'm wasting my time.
yeah,
And I'm going to move on if he is.
yeah.
So,
I don't necessarily mean with another fella, but I think she needs something else to fill her time, because she's one of these people that doesn't have a lot going on. And Cash was like her whole life, really, apart from a few shifts at Salt. So she needs to concentrate on something else in her own life, whether that's the band. I don't know whether we'll ever see the band again. Don't know the band, or the Salt thing, or get another hobby or something. She just needs to concentrate on something for herself, and then he can
yeah,
see her moving on and doing something for her own.
not pining over a sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
maybe he'll snap out of it and be like, well, actually, damn it, I made a mistake. I do want her, and I don't want to see her happy on her own. And I don't know. I feel like he needs a wake up call. A bit like Tane, they both need a wake up call. They've both had stuff happen this year that they just need a bit of a slap round the chops over. I think maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it. I think they both
Yeah.
need a bit of a slap. So, we've got time to squeeze in any thoughts about Abby this week. Landing that job at the board shop. Do you like her there? What's your thoughts on that?
That was so
'Cause I was-
random. That was so random. I'm sorry. The whole thing was just like, oh, I've got nothing to do. I'm going to go and talk to Marley and ignore Kirby because I'm a cow. And then he was just like, oh, I totally fancy this chick. I want to hang around with her more. I'll give her a job. I'm sorry, but that's the only reason he gave her a job, is because he just wants to hang out with her. He's got the hots for her blatantly, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Yep.
why though. Like, she's horrible.
I know, she's horrendous.
She's
Like,
horrible.
that immediately makes her so unattractive.
Exactly. And I'm not being funny. I just think the comparison between how he treats Kirby and how he treats her is hilarious, because when Kirby started working at the board shop originally, do you remember how hard he was on her? And he
Yeah,
was like constantly nagging and pecking at her, and you can't flirt with the customers, and you haven't done this and you haven't
yeah,
done that. And
yeah,
with Abby, she's like literally doesn't even go to work, doesn't put the uniform on, doesn't do anything, and it's like he thinks that the sun shines out of her
yeah.
ass,
I
and it's
know.
only because he wants to take her to bed. I'm sorry, that's the only
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Yeah, he's thinking with his
Yes,
other organ.
he definitely is.
Yeah, you're right. And the comparison is stark, the way he treated
Yeah,
Abby to the way he treated Kirby. And this time he's left Kirby to deal with this behavior.
yeah,
Like, because
Yeah.
he doesn't want to get on the bad side of Abby, because like you say, he's trying to get her in the sack straight
Yeah.
off the bat. You see it from a mile off. Yeah.
It's so
I was
funny. Yeah,
men,
it's awful.
typical
It's-
men. And she seems to be like she is. I mean, how on earth he can even consider going there when she's so childish? Like,
Mm,
like seems to be like this with Kirby, with Eden and Remy, because of some childhood crush that grudge, not crush, maybe crush, some childhood grudge that she hasn't gotten over. Like, come on.
well, I've been psychoanalyzing this because, like, it's not very interesting storyline. Let's face it. So I've been
Yeah,
like,
you've
right,
got to go somewhere. Yeah,
in my brain, I've been trying to make it spicier. So yeah,
yeah,
she's pathetic. Like, she's saying to like Marley, oh, the reason I don't like Kirby is because she ruined my birthday 100 years ago when I was a child. And it was just after my parents got divorced, and it was my first birthday party, and my big sister didn't come because she went to a bar. Yeah, because she was a teenager. And like,
yeah,
you've done so much worse than that since then, and you can't forgive this behavior. Like, it's insane that she's still holding a grudge over this. But I've also been looking at her because she's so horrible to Remy. Like all the comments about when he's in the circle and trying to sort out his relationship with Bree, and she keeps going, oh, still the ladies' man and still this, and then he's like, oh, bog off, Abby, like, leave me alone. And I was like, what's the beef with him then? Because the beef with Kirby is that she messed up her birthday because she took her sister to a bar instead of her sister going to a party. Okay, whatever. But what's the beef? What's the beef with Remy? And I was looking at it and I was like, did she actually have a crush on Remy back in the day? And did he do something to make her feel like a stupid little kid and like that it was never going to happen?
yeah. I mean, it's definitely more than plausible, isn't it?
I was thinking
But-
that. I was thinking, I bet she had a
Yeah.
crush on him, and like then she tried to sort of not flirt with him. I don't know how old she would have been, but she tried to get his attention at some point in the past. And then obviously he's much older than her and probably patted her on the head and went, "Oh, good kid," or something. You know, like something patronizing. And then she's held a grudge ever since because it's like, "Oh, he didn't fancy me because I'm a child." I think it's going to be something really petty like that. I've got a feeling.
Yeah, I agree. And anyway, he's old enough to be your father.
Exactly, and that's why he wasn't interested. Like rationally now, she can think about it and go, well, of course he wasn't going to shag me. I was 14 years old or whatever it was, and he was 25 because he's blatantly not 29 or whatever it's supposed to be. I don't know, but that's something like that. But the best thing to come out of the Abby story this week, I'm sorry, has to be John's definitive surf club employee handbook. That is the best thing I've seen all week. Literally props to the prop department for this prop.
Yes.
The best prop so far of 2025 that I've seen, because I took a screenshot of this prop and it says the definitive surf club employee handbook, and then there's John leaning against a flag between the flags, and then it says, I don't know whether you noticed this, if you zoom in, it says curated by John Palmer based on true events, John Palmer original. All rights reserved. It's hilarious. I love these props. They're so good.
You'll have to send that to me in a minute. That's funny.
Of course.
They do have some fun with the part. I did like how when he produced that and handed it to her, he said, "Welcome aboard. Get it?
Get it? Surf club." I love it. That was the best thing to happen. So if we have to go through the Abby Bratty storyline, it was worth it for the John prop. I'm sorry. I'm loving that.
Agreed.
Right, Si. Now, this is the segment where normally I do Your Say on the Bay, and I say,
Oh, yeah.
I've been digging through social medias, I've been looking at comments, and I'm going to read some out and all that malarkey that people will be familiar with. But I'm going to shake it up. It's the first episode of 2025, and I'm going to already shake things up. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with us. I'm hoping this will be a good one anyway. But we're going to do a bit of a shake up. Why not? 2025, new year, new me, all that crap. Instead of Your Say on the Bay, we're going to do our trip to the Bay.
Yay!
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Good.
I'm sat up. You have my attention.
Okay.
See if I can remember it.
I know this is like more of a memory jog / memory quiz for us, I think, more than anything, because it is January now. But at the end of November, just after the season finale dropped in the UK, we jetted off to Sydney, and the whole point of the trip was to go to Palm Beach to see Summer Bay in real life, which we did twice, didn't we?
Yeah.
We went twice. Yeah. It was amazing. So I'm going to talk about our experience of going to the Bay, what we thought of it, what we did, how we did it, all of that stuff. So should we just dissect
how we survived?
Survived Summer Bay. I know we didn't get kidnapped, we didn't get poisoned, we didn't get stabbed. We didn't have a car crash on the way from the Ocean Road or whatever it is.
And we tried all of the above.
We attempted it. It didn't happen. So if you are a regular on social media and spend a lot of time on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, you might have come across a company called Celeb Time, and they do location tours of Home and Away. So obviously Home and Away is filmed primarily, the outdoor sort of scenes are filmed at Palm Beach, which is obviously near Sydney, a little drive up the coast from Sydney. So they do these tours where you can book on them, and they go every Sunday and Tuesday, don't they, from Sydney, and you get picked up on this bus, and the bus is plastered with pictures of Home and Away current and ex-cast members. And then you get on the bus and you get a little ticket for your time, which is like a lanyard that you wear for the day. And then you get on the bus and we're driven, depending on what happens, which tour you booked onto. So we'll talk about the first one, because on Sunday the 24th of November, we went on what they call the Meet an Actor tour, didn't we? Which was brilliant. Highly
Yeah.
recommend both these tours, but this one was really good. So we were picked up in Sydney on Sunday morning by Paul, who is the bus driver, and then we were joined by a cast member. That's when you get joined by a current cast member that's on Home and Away at the moment. So we got Eden, didn't we? Steph joined us for a little Q&A on the bus. So we were driven. I can't actually remember how long it took to get from Sydney to Palm Beach because we were so distracted by everything going on the bus. It kind of went by in a second, didn't it? It didn't really feel like very long, but was it like maybe an hour or so?
Yeah, I'd say an hour easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
it
had some
wasn't.
traffic, if you remember.
We did. It was really busy because they'd shut some roads down in Sydney, hadn't they, for something?
Yeah.
There was some demonstration going on or protest or
Yeah.
something. So it did actually take us longer to get there, but it flew by because we did have Eden on the bus with us. So there was how many people do you think booked onto the tour? About 25-ish?
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
quite a big
nearly
bus.
full, wasn't it, the bus?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was about 25-ish people.
Mm.
And Steph was on the bus, and on the way we were talking to her. She was sort of telling us stories, and we were asking questions. Can you remember what she was saying? Can you remember anything that she told us?
She was talking quite a lot about how she came to land the role in Home and Away. People were asking this, and she was talking about, being a musician. Like
Yeah.
that's something that she's really passionate about. She was really funny because she was holding the microphone. I don't know if you remember, and she brought her own sock. She brought a sock with her, and she put the sock over the microphone because she said, "I work on TV and keep bashing my teeth with this microphone on the bus."
Yeah.
So the pictures of her are really funny because she's talking to this sock. And we were asking her about sort of, being on such a big show, and the shows overseas, and is she sort of aware of sort of how big and popular it is? And she said not really. She still goes to the laundrette on a Sunday to do a washing. Like she was quite grounded, and and she said, like, they'll do, she's got lots of lines to learn, and she was doing scenes on the beach that week, and she was just telling us about her life really, and answering questions. A couple of people wanted to know like what her favorite this and that were. And she went round all the bus. I don't know if you remember, and asked us where everybody was from. And she spoke about sort of where she wanted to go in the world, and how amazing it was that lots of people had travelled so far, because there were quite a few Brits on.
Yeah.
There was some Irish people on, some Norwegian people, wasn't there? Some people from Eastern Europe. There's people from all over the world on there.
Yeah, it's quite a diverse group, and I suppose if she doesn't really think about it, how sort of far and wide the reach of Home and Away is.
Yeah,
it's probably a bit strange to her to sort of say, "Where are you from?" and someone say like Croatia or something. And she's like, "What?"
Yeah, I know. Nuts, isn't it?
Why?
I know. I know. And how the hell do you know about me? I want to know about me. Imagine sort of like doing your work, and then on a weekend you have people come on a bus and ask and know who you are from God knows where. You'd just
really
be thinking
weird.
it's really odd.
It's really surreal. Yeah, totally surreal.
Yeah.
So that was we got driven to Mona Vale first, didn't we? So we didn't get driven straight to Palm Beach. We got taken to Mona Vale, which looked a little bit Palm Beachy actually. It was like,
Well, this is the first trickery, isn't it?
yeah.
Can't look at any of these pictures the same now.
No, it's not actually Palm Beach, the first stop off. So it's Mona Vale. And there is like a surf club, and it looks very Palm Beachy, but it's not. And we got off the bus, and we had photos with Steph, didn't we? So she took photos with everybody that was on the tour. You could buy what they called a passport. So this was like an autograph book essentially. So we could get her
passport,
Summer Bay passport. Yeah. So when you book your Celeb Time ticket, you can buy a passport as well. And if you're doing the Meet an Actor tour, it's worth buying it for that tour because it is an autograph book. So obviously you're going to meet an actor, you might as well have something for them to sign, which is what we got her to do. We got her to sign this little booklet that we paid for. So we had photos with her. and then everybody had a chance to sort of ask questions individually, and talk to her individually. And I think she was like doing videos for people that weren't on the tour, wasn't she? Like someone said, "Oh, my mom's a big fan, but she couldn't make it, to Australia. So could we just record this little clip?" And she was doing little clips with people.
She was really generous, wasn't she, with her
She
time there?
was, yeah, she's really nice,
Yeah.
just really normal girl. Which was really lovely. Like put you at ease, didn't it? Really, it wasn't like, I think if it had been like Mr. Stewart or someone, I think I would have been dying. But it didn't feel as weird, because it was just like, oh, she's really normal, and she's just really nice, and she's not as iconic as some of the big ones that would make me go into panic mode. So
it got you into it nice and easy. And
yeah.
I've got my passport here, I'm reading it now. She's put, "Sigh, so damn nice to meet you. Love, Steph."
That's nice.
So yeah, she was dead nice. Yeah,
she was really lovely. And then the guys that do the tour, so there's Paul that drives the bus, and then there's another lady that joins later on called Tanya, and she's like the kind of compere and host on the bus later. But they kind of interact with the guests as well, so they're talking to you as well, and they're asking you like, how long have you been a fan of Home and Away, where are you from, and they'll do little skits, because they are the people behind the Celeb Time tour.
Oh God.
They film stuff as well. They film like
no.
little things for their PR essentially, and they got you to film
Oh,
something,
no.
didn't they?
Sophie.
We were talking to them, and explaining who we were, and we said, oh, Simon was saying we've got a podcast and it's Coastal News, and they loved this, so they were like all over this. Oh, brilliant podcast, let's do a little bit of a video for the old social medias. So then you said, I mean, you'd already announced on the bus, hadn't you, that you got your burger phone with you, because we took the burger phone to Sydney. God knows how we got it through Qatar, wherever we went on the way there, we got it all through customs. This burger phone is like internationally flown now. But they got you to do a little skit with the burger phone, didn't they? So at this place where we stopped at Mona Vale, there's a bench where Steph was signing all the autographs and stuff, and when it was our time to have our autographs done, the Celeb Time guys videoed Simon doing a little skit with Steph, where I think you had to be Mr. Stewart, didn't you?
Yes, they had a hat and everything. No, oh God, I'm cringing to my heaven.
Tell us about what happened, what they got you to do, and what the brief was. And
well, we hung behind. Everyone was sort of spending time with Steph, getting their autograph and everything, and so but obviously that meant we had a lot of time to prepare. So by the time I got to the front where Steph was going to do something with the phone with us, it was like we had a script. we had a whole storyboard, like the whole thing was mapped out. And I remember looking at her going, "Steph, I am so sorry about what's about to happen." She just burst out laughing.
I think she's used to it, isn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Basically the gist of it is the phone rings, and Steph picks up the burger phone, and she's like, "Oh, hey, Curbs, how's it going?" and all the rest of it. And then Mr. Stewart to you, played by me. It's going to be on the wiki page and everything. Comes in, and they had an Alf hat and everything. It was just like, oh God. It was a Sunday, the beach was packed, everyone was looking at me. I just don't know what was going on. They must have hated us. Everybody else on this bus must have thought, who the hell are these? And I interrupt and go, "Get off that flaming phone, you, make me a black tea," or something along those lines. Yeah. And we just burst out laughing. It's really funny. It's
hilarious.
It's online, isn't it? I found it on YouTube some weeks later. It's just
So Celeb Time, the company that obviously do the tours, they filmed this skit between Eden and Si, and it is on all their social media. So if you scroll back to November, it's on there. So at _Celeb Time _ is their Instagram, or Celeb Time.
Just don't.
No, it's really funny, and then you can see Si squirming in this scene. It's really good. So that was really good fun, and she was a good sport to go along with that, wasn't she? So I think they do. I've seen a few of them where they've done little videos on the Celeb Time tours with the actor that you're meeting, and they get somebody off the bus, one of us plebs off the bus to do something with one of the actors. So there was one this week with Flick where they did a Q&A with someone that was on the tour. So it's something that they regularly do. It was just
Brit as that was. I saw it myself. Yeah.
Yes,
Loads
I
of
think it
Brits
was
go and do
Liverpool.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just nice.
Yeah.
It just made it a bit more personal, didn't it? Because it was more of another memory that we got from being there. So that was funny.
Yeah.
So that was Mona Vale. So at that point, after I don't know how long it was, about, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes or so with Eden. And then she leaves. So we spent like, I don't know how long on the bus with her. And then we had like the group photographs with her, and then the individual photograph with her. And then we have the autographs with her and a little chat. And then Simon did all this videos with her. So I don't know how long the whole thing was, but at that point, Eden doesn't come to Palm Beach with you on the Meet and Actor tour. She actually got a lift home at that point. We all got back on the bus, so we're now Edenless on the Meet and Actor tour. Back on the bus, and we have Tanya join us. So Tanya used to work for Channel 7. She used to work on Home and Away. She's got a breadth of knowledge. I think between us, I don't think we've got enough knowledge in our heads to match what she knows about Home and Away.
We found her fascinating, didn't we?
She was brilliant. Really, really good. Lovely, lovely person. An expat as well. So she's from England originally, but she now lives in Sydney, has done for years and years, has worked on Channel 7, has the most Home and Away knowledge of anyone I've ever met. And it's just really interesting, really nice to chat to. So she joined the bus at this point, and she did like a quiz with us, like quizzing the bus's knowledge on Home and Away.
The bus's knowledge or your knowledge? So.
My knowledge, I know. Well, I think a lot of the questions were probably either before the time of some of the people on the bus. Because I think a lot of people on the bus were quite young, weren't they?
They were,
probably didn't know as much of the older storylines as what we did. So I ended up just chiming in a bit, because I don't like it. When someone asks a question and nobody answers, and I get really like anxious. So then I was just like babbled out, going like, it was so and so, it was Josh, he wasn't blind, he was faking it. I was shouting out all these answers on the bus.
And by that, there was a bit of like, science. I hope you'll know this one. Like,
she was like, she kept looking at me like, you'll know this. I was like, I probably will, but ask someone else. It's getting embarrassing now. But she was great. So then we did the rest of the trip to Palm Bay then. So back on the bus up to Palm Beach. Got to Palm Beach, got off the bus, and I think how long did we have?
It wasn't too long. It was about an hour and a half.
It wasn't more than 2. Yeah, it wasn't more than 2 hours. So what they said to us, because it's a Sunday, so if you go on the Meet and Actor tour, the reason why you get an actor on the bus is because they don't film Home and Away on Sundays. So when you go to Palm Beach, there's no filming at all. You don't see any of the cast at that point. But you're free to roam the whole area, go and explore, and you're given about an hour and a half, less than 2 hours, I think it was. And you get given a choice to make then. You've either got enough time to go and explore all of Palm Beach and everything that's there, and then get back on the bus, or you've got just about enough time to leg it up to the lighthouse, which is about an hour's walk, and it's a decent trek as well uphill to go and see the lighthouse and get pictures there. But then you've not got enough time to do everything else because it takes so long to climb up there and down again. So we made the decision not to go to the lighthouse, didn't we? And we could see it, because you can see it from Palm Beach. You can see it from where the old pier diner is. You can see it from there. So you can see it in the distance, but we didn't actually go up to the lighthouse, did we? Because we thought we don't want to waste too much time doing that and miss everything else.
Yeah, but I mean, there was loads of things. There was a map, wasn't there? So it was like, we want to go and see where the diner, we're going to go see the circle, we want to go and see Gina's bench, we want to go and see the beach, we're filming bits and taking photos, and you have to make a choice, which is a shame, really.
I think what I would recommend, obviously we didn't have enough time because we did the 2 tours, and we'll talk about the second tour in a minute. This is the first one, the Meet and Actor one. I think if I was there longer, and I think if you are there, listeners, if you're planning to go to Sydney and you've got an extra day or so, go back to Palm Beach on your own, and then you've got time to go up to the lighthouse and look at it
Yeah.
The tours are really good, but there's not a huge amount of free time because you don't want to miss anything. You want to be able to see everything and do everything.
Yeah. Mix it up and do both, I would say.
Maybe do a tour and then a day on your own, or
because now we're like, we're gonna have to go back, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that we didn't get time to do it, but we did get a decent amount of time to look around Palm Beach. So we did see obviously the main building, the main Surf Club building, which was so interesting because I don't know about you, but I felt like that sort of set. It's not a set because it's a real building, but it looked much smaller to me in real life. That whole area looks much smaller than it does on the TV.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
you're right.
strange. I don't know how to describe
Yeah.
it. It feels a lot smaller, I don't know how to describe it without saying that,
It
really.
looks bigger on telly, you mean? More roomy on telly. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It looked like there was loads more space around it on the TV, and loads like that area outside the Surf Club where they all sort of sit, where Remy's done busking before, and there's like picnic benches and people are sitting there. Like we sat there, we had ice cream, didn't we? We sat there because there's a little kiosk there at the side of the Surf Club where you can buy food and you can buy ice creams and you can buy Summer Bay merch as well. They have like Summer Bay towels and some
life-saving caps.
and suntan lotion and mugs and Struth on your mug and that kind of thing. You can buy merch from this kiosk. So we bought ice creams and we sat down at these benches where Remy plays to these people when he does his busking. It just felt a lot smaller. It's like there's only like maybe 4 or 5 benches, and on screen that area just looks much bigger. It's really weird.
I know. There were some scenes on air this week. I was like, whoa, been there,
I know.
sat there, stood there.
Kirby was sat on one of the benches this week.
I know,
and I was like, oh, that's the next to the bench where we sat and had our ice cream. That's so weird. So weird. But obviously the Surf Club itself is a real surf club. So that building that you see, you can't go in there. Like, so when you see the inside scenes of the Surf Club on the show, that's all a set. It's not actually at Palm Beach at all. Only the outside bit is the bit that's real. That you can actually look at. So it is a real surf club. They've got real lifeguards there in the same uniforms. They've got a real Polaris that they're using really to go and rescue real people that are drowning in the sea. So all of that is real, which is so strange because it's just like, oh, there's the Polaris and it's got Summer Bay. Everything's got Summer Bay written on it.
It's all Summer Bay, branded.
It's so weird because you're at Palm Beach, but everything says Summer Bay kiosk, and there's a menu with Summer Bay written on it, and there's Polaris that says Summer Bay on it, but it's not Summer Bay. That's fictional, but you're actually in a real place, and it's a real surf club. So it's really hard to get your head around this.
Yeah,
really strange.
It was it's surreal, isn't it? Because everything's saying Summer Bay to you, and that's how it should be, but your mind's telling you, well, that's TV.
Yeah.
And then in other ways, it's the other way, because like that sign outside the front that we wanted to get this famous picture of, obviously they cover it up that it's actually Palm Beach Life-Saving Surf Club, and they cover it up, don't they? With Summer Bay when they're filming, and that that was different. So that in some ways loads of it was that way, and in some ways it wasn't. It was bizarre. It was really strange. Yeah.
Because you're telling yourself it's a TV show and it's all not real, and then there's real lifeguards riding around the beach on the Polaris that used to see John in, and it's like, okay, so that's weird. And obviously they let them use the outside of the surf club to film from. They let them use the Polaris. They let them drive that down the beach. Even that's real life-saving equipment that they've got.
I know.
They let them use it for the TV show. It's really weird.
I imagine they put a lot of money into the surf club, though. Suppose.
I'd hope so. Yeah, there must be some benefit from it, or else they wouldn't do it, would they? So. Yeah. We went and had to sit on Gina's bench, didn't we? We had a little look out to sea, a little bit of a wistful, Remember,
contemplating life.
Contemplation, we also walked down to where the diner is, or was supposed to be. So that's actually a big restaurant and a pier that's all been redone recently. It looks beautiful.
It does, but it looks wrong.
It does look weird because it doesn't look like what we're used to seeing. So again, it was like, I recognise it from the TV, but it doesn't look quite the same. And obviously the bait shop's not there. It's just really strange. But it is very well done. So they don't
Yeah.
actually film outside at the new diner where the
No.
diner used to be, because it's a real restaurant with a really beautiful pier, and they don't film the outside bits anymore there. So the diner on the show is all inside now. Anything that looks outside is kind of faked, isn't it? It's like fake wall and grass.
They were saying since the pier was rebuilt, the new owners don't want the film in there anymore, basically.
No.
That is the truth. So.
It's so weird. In fact, they said they warned us that they might not want us to go on the pier and take selfies and stuff, because the patrons in the real restaurant, you know, they don't want to be looking out when they're dining and seeing us, you know, taking daft selfies through the window.
All these Brits going, oh my God.
Strike me road, where's the bait shop? You know, that kind of thing. So we did get warned that, you know, it's a real business and there's real customers there that are there for the restaurant, not for home and away.
Yeah.
And that kind
so
of
we
thing.
decided not to go on the pier and break up with each other.
Which we were going to do. Yeah, we were going to do something dramatic on the pier, but we decided not to. So we had a little walk round. Like I say, we can see the lighthouse, can't you, from everywhere, because it's right at the top of this like cliff. Which is visible from both where the diner area is, and also you can see it from the surf club as well. Because you can where those benches are outside the surf club, you can actually see the lighthouse. If you look up at the cliff, you can see it from there as well. So it's just mad. So all of it was just like the little walkway down from the beach, from the surf club down to the beach. We did a little walk down there, and that was surreal as well, because it's like, you recognize so much of it from the TV, but it looks the same, but it looks smaller. It's just really strange.
Yeah. And in your mind, some of that area on TV is in a different place.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's true. They did that this week when there was a walk and talk. And I think it was Marley and Abby, and they were walking along, and then they ended up at the back of the surf club, and Kirby was there, and I was like, oh, that bit there where they were doing the walk and talk is not actually where that bit is.
Yeah.
That's down there.
Everything's so close together, but in the universe on the show, it's miles away. Oh, it seems like it's quite a way away. It's weird.
They changed the geography a little bit, but where the coffee cart normally is, we saw that on the next day, didn't we? But we had a little walk around there on the Sunday. We had a little walk around where the coffee cart normally is, and where the picnic benches are. That scene just before the break in November, where Levi confronts Bree at the bench, and says, "I'm going to report you." We walked all around that area, didn't we? There's like it is like a picnic area with shading from trees. It's all lined with trees, isn't it? It's very pretty. But then opposite that, there's this huge car park. It's like, oh, that's really weird. That kind of pulled you out of it as well. So you're like, oh my God, this is just a park and people are just coming up there with their kids and parking their car and just going for a walk. It's just really random. It's just really weird to be in there.
Especially on a red hot Sunday. It was packed full of families, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was full of people having picnics and
barbecues.
Barbecues, and it was just normal life going on. It's like, oh, this is
so
weird.
What's funny? Yeah, what was funny? We were walking along and talking about all this and taking it all in and and I just went, guys, we're doing a walk and talk in Summer Bay.
You love a walk and talk.
Love a walk and talk. Well, I'm actually here and I'm doing one. What's going on? What is my life?
So weird. It's so surreal. What else have we got to say about the Sunday? So on Sunday, obviously we walked around. We took loads of pictures and videos of the whole of the Palm Beach area, the surf club. Obviously Salt, the balcony's there, but it's at the time there was nothing on it because it's part of the real surf club. So they only put the Salt tables on the balcony when they need to film up there. But it was completely barren, wasn't it? There was nothing up there when we went. I think there's some tables stacked in the corner.
I kept thinking, looking up at that and taking photos and videos and things, and I kept thinking, gosh, do you remember when they added that floor on?
Yes.
And that was a big storyline in the show. And
yeah.
There was no upstairs, was there? So it has changed a lot over the years when you think about it.
It has, definitely. Yeah, it was just so weird to actually see it in real life and be like, wow.
Yeah.
This is so strange.
It just felt so familiar but so strange at the same time. It was a really weird feeling. Yeah.
I think because it's not a set, because it is a real surf club and it's really being used by a real lifeguard, life-saving club. And and then you see them coming out of the surf club and getting in the Polaris and driving off
I know.
and doing real work. But then it's got Alf Stewart's name across the top of the surf club on the shutters. And you're like, is this real or not? It's so
I'll tell you what it
surreal.
felt like. It felt like you'd landed there in a parallel universe, like you just appeared in an episode and no one was expecting you to be there. Because there was one moment where we were just like taking photos out in front of the surf club sign with Alf Stewart's name, and then this lifeguard comes out from behind us and he's just walking past us, and I'm like,
doing his
are
job.
we like this is an episode like we've landed
so
in an
weird.
episode. Anyway, it was strange.
It's very strange. And then there's the toilet block, which is right next to where the surf club is this toilet block, isn't there? Male and female toilets. You had a wee. I didn't have a wee.
I had a wee in
Palm
Summer Bay
Beach.
toilet
You
block.
did.
Yeah.
And then there's the showers. You know, the outside showers where they go and they come out of the water and they go and shower. And there's just normal people just using the showers. Just
I know, not a 6-pack in sight. That was a bit disappointing, actually.
it was just normal surfers coming out of the surf and going to have a shower. It's just really surreal, really surreal. So yeah, that was the Sunday, and then obviously we got back on the bus after we had all of our little walk around and took loads of videos and photos and stuff. We got back on the bus, and Tanya and Paul drove us to some of the houses that are used on set, aren't there? There's some there's outside shots of some of the houses that are used. I can't remember which ones we went to now, because I think I was just still like in awe of the fact that we were there. And they took us to the outside pool, didn't they, as well?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, a bit further around at the southern end of the beach, of the bay, if you like,
where Charlotte was shot.
Yeah, and there was more Charlotte trivia.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah,
surrounded
Charlotte.
Pool. Yeah, lovely storyline. Yeah, and then we left the bay and
we drove back to. They dropped us at Manly, didn't they? So they picked us up in Sydney, but they dropped us off in Manly. And on the way to Manly, we had another quiz with Tanya, and then we watched randomly that Irish girl that does all the the fairy non-bio
with a click and a clack.
Yeah, what's her name?
I don't know. Does she need a name?
I can't remember the name, but she obviously did a documentary at some point, which I've never seen until we got on the bus, where she's talking about how Ireland loves Summer Bay and she visits Summer Bay, and then she's interviewing randomly Heath in a nightclub, and he's doing a meet and greet with some fans.
It was obviously
and stuff.
like it's something for RTE back in the day, maybe.
Yeah, very strange. So we watched that on the bus on the way back to Manly. And then that was it. We got dropped off in Manly, and then we went and had dinner and made our way back to Sydney.
Manly. That's a bit of us, that, innit, Manly?
That was lovely. There was if you are getting dropped off there was a lovely beach bar called Felons, which we went to for dinner, which was lovely, and we watched the sunset, didn't we, from there?
Yeah. So and then you just get the ferry back to the city whenever you like. Yeah. It's just such a good vibe, Manly. We've even mentioned about sort of staying that way if we were to go again, didn't we? Because it's just such a good vibe.
Definitely stay in Manly if we went back. Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah.
I think quite a lot of the cast actually lives in Manly as well, because it's quite, convenient to get to Palm Beach from there.
There we go. That's stalking TikTok as well.
There we go. So that was the Sunday, but then on the Tuesday, because obviously there's 2 of these tours a week that Celeb Time do. So the Tuesday tour is called the Filming Likely Tour. So this is where, again, you get picked up in Sydney on the bus. This time we get driven to Mona Vale. This is not with an actor this time, so we didn't have Eden or anybody else on the bus with us. Get driven to Mona Vale where we pick up Tanya. Tanya gets on the bus, and we did again, where are you from? Lots of people on the bus sort of sharing where they were coming from.
I think there were more Brits and Europeans on the filming one than there was on the first one. There was less Aussies on the filming one.
Yeah, I suppose.
Did you notice that?
I suppose the filming one's on a weekday, so they'd have to book. If you were an Aussie, you'd have to book the day off to go on it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's a few suffering husbands, weren't there?
Yeah, there were a few. I think Tanya says, who watches it now? Who's watched it forever? Who's never seen it and has just been dragged along because their other half wanted to come on this tour? There was a few of those.
Couple of husbands were like, no.
But everyone was in good spirits. I think even if you didn't watch Home and Away, going to Palm Beach was just so beautiful. It's just one of those places where you don't mind having a couple of hours there, even if you don't watch the show, because it's just so pretty and a nice
I'm
place
not
to
being
visit.
funny, especially if you're a Brit, you know what Home and Away is.
Yeah.
You'll recognise that beach at some point in your life. You'll have come across the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, even if your first question is Harold still in it. No.
Oh no, please. Yeah. It's not a bad day out, even if you're not a Homer's fan. You know what I mean? It's still worth going.
Definitely.
So that was the Tuesday. So when we got on the bus and got to Palm Beach, we were basically on the scout then to look for anybody that was filming. So as we were driving into the car park where the bus was going to park, we saw, which wasn't there on Sunday, all the trailers, all the makeup trailers, hair and makeup, costume, all of that had appeared out of nowhere, which wasn't there on the Sunday. And as we were driving through, you know, we saw Shane Withington, who plays John Palmer, sitting under a tree, presumably reading his lines, having a coffee, reading his lines. Somebody saw Lynn, who plays Irene, having her hair and makeup done in one of the trailers as we drove past. So that was all new stuff that we hadn't seen on Sunday before. So already getting excited at this point. And then we went basically looking for where they're filming. So the first thing we went and saw was actually Ali Harris, who you've interviewed recently on the podcast. If you go back a couple of episodes, Simon's actually interviewed Ali recently, plays Dana on the show. We saw her doing a scene with someone who we didn't recognize, didn't we?
I didn't.
She
didn't look happy with him. She stormed off.
No, she did.
And then stormed off again in take 2, and stormed up again in take 3. We saw the same kind of shot done a few times, because apparently that's what they do. They sort of film it a few times, and then I guess they take the best of the ones that are good. But we were watching it for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. Yeah, and Theo, Matt Evans, was sat in the sidelines, wasn't he? He must have finished. We must have missed him filming whatever he had to film in that location. He was waiting for them to be done, I think, wasn't he?
He was waiting in the car, wasn't he? And then they got in the car straight, because it's really fast. As soon as they finish filming the scene, basically Dana jumps in the car, Ali jumps in the car.
Unknown actor jumps in the car.
Yeah, this fella that we didn't recognise jumps in the car, and then they went off. So that was it. It was like, oh, that was quick. And presumably they're going off to do something else at that point. I can't remember what else. What else have I missed from the Dana bit?
Well,
I can't think.
From that, I like you say, it was so fast. You know, like when you're watching the show and they're on that flat beach where the diner is, and there's like a fishing boat or something. They're props, like they don't. Which I don't know whether I'm surprised or not, whether I should be surprised, but they literally just picked them up, threw them in a van, and went with the camera, shoved the camera in, and off they went. And I was like, oh, I don't know why I thought that boat might just live there on the beach.
Yeah, I don't think I'd even thought about it before. Like, you don't really look at the props in the background normally, do you? But then, like you say, the fact that they picked it up and put it in the van and drove off with it was like, oh right, okay, that was a prop.
Yeah, and fans will know what we're talking about. It's like Perri slept under it, you know, and you know, and things, you know, and it just how quickly they disappeared was just so. It was funny because you were asking, did you ask Tanya or somebody else, you know, about the impact on the locals and like what they think of it? Was it you who asked that, or might have been another?
I can't remember now.
Somebody else on the tour. And it was like, you know, it gets in the way a bit, but actually it's so small and gone, and there 1 minute, gone the next. It doesn't really impose that much, to be honest. There's like one security guard, isn't there, just making sure you're not in shot. Asking you to move left 3 paces because the camera 500 meters away can see you in its peripheral, that kind of thing.
We're all gawping at them,
with our phones out. I was shocked at how close we got.
Yeah, we did. We got
like
really
there was no cordon. There was no. We were just across the path from it.
Yeah, it's very strange because they do film one scene at a time. So although we saw a couple of scenes being filmed on the day, it's not like this. It's not like there's 3 sets and there's like someone filming at the coffee cart, someone filming at the life, you know, the life club, lifesaving club, someone else filming at wherever, you know, on Gina's bench or whatever. It's filmed one scene at a time. So all of the kit and all of the crew and all the cameras and everything that are filming that one scene, wherever it may be, are then everything's all bundled up immediately and driven off to the next location, which might only be a few hundred yards down the beach. But it's not like things are all going on at the same time. So I think you're right. I think it's like they get away with filming it because they're filming it for maybe half an hour in one spot, and then they pick it all up and they take it with them and they put it down somewhere else and film there for half an hour in one spot and then move again. So it's not like they're taking up the whole space all day long.
If like 5 minutes later you wouldn't even know they'd been there.
No, exactly. You wouldn't have known. Yeah,
other
we
than
would
the
have missed it.
trailers, that bit's probably the only imposing bit. All the trailers, isn't there? But it's in a car park anyway. So there'd only be cars there.
Exactly. It wasn't like it was a huge imposition, I don't think.
When we moved up a bit further along, and because we watched the coffee cart filming for a bit, the way they were filming that, they were filming various things, weren't they? They were filming, it wasn't the same scene. So I imagine they were filming all the coffee carts for that block of episodes, I imagine. James Stewart kept changing his T-shirt, didn't he?
He's in grey in 1 minute and then he was in black the next minute. And then John and Steph, obviously Shane and Steph, John and Eden, they were filming a scene near the coffee cart. And then they came to the coffee cart and then they had a scene with Justin and Leah, who had just done a scene at the coffee cart. So you're right.
They were filming all sorts, weren't they, in one go?
Yeah, there was all sorts going on. It was fascinating to watch, though.
It was. John and Eden looked like they were doing a walk and talk type thing, and they were using the long lens for that. That's when everyone was told to move back a bit. Because obviously when they film the characters walking towards the camera, obviously it's quite a long way away and it's quite a distance, isn't it? And then there was loads of close-up stuff done, and they did that multiple times. And then they, like you say, they then visited the coffee cart, and then there were scenes at the coffee cart with just Leah and Justin, and then there were scenes where Leah and Justin left the coffee cart or arrived at the coffee cart, sat down at the coffee cart. There was all sorts of coffee cart stuff filmed, which I imagine are all different sequentially in the episodes. When they get put in.
It was fascinating to watch all of that happening in front of our eyes. It was so weird. And then we saw, as part of the crew behind the cameras, Paul and Tanya that run the Celeb Time tour that we were on, the Filming Likely tour. They were pointing out, do you recognise that guy behind that camera there? And I was like, no. Well, he played Hunter on the show. What? Like, this guy, I wouldn't have picked him as Hunter in a million years. Like, if you put a line of people together and said one of these people was on the show, who were they? And Hunter's not been off it that long, really, in the grand scheme of things. But I didn't recognise him at all. I did not recognise him at all. So he was actually behind the cameras, and there's quite a few people that used to be on the show that now work behind the scenes on the show. So that's quite fascinating. Obviously, I think one of the famous people is Laura Vasquez, that was on the show and now is like head of makeup and that kind of thing, isn't she, on the show? There's a few. Will Smith. We didn't actually see him, did we?
But he was there. And
apparently
then the director was Leah's brother.
Oh yes,
Alex.
Leah's brother, Alex somebody. So I can't remember Will Smith's real name in real life. It's gone out of my brain now. Is it Zach? Is his name Zach? I can't remember.
I think it is actually.
He was supposed to be there, but I didn't see him. I was looking for him because I was a big Will fan back in the day. But again, unless he looks completely different, like Hunter did.
Zach Drayson.
That's it, Zach Drayson. I didn't see him, but we could have walked past him. I've got no idea. Really weird. So a lot of people that were on the show work behind it, and like I say, Paul and Tanya know all of them, and then recognise him, recognise that. That's director so and so. It was fascinating. So you get all that insider knowledge from them.
I really enjoyed it. Really did.
It was really, really good. I would definitely recommend it. Recommend either of the tours. If you could only do one, I think I would prefer to do the Filming Likely tour. But there is a gamble with that one, because obviously if it's a day when they're not filming, because they don't film every day, there's a chance that you might not see anything. But I think that for me was the best one, just because we got to see the magic, we got to see, them
And we got
filming.
to meet, like, they came over in between takes.
That's true. Yes, we were
So
very,
in the
very
end,
lucky.
yeah, they're not guaranteed, and obviously they're busy and don't always have time to say hello. But we in the end we ended up meeting Ada Nicodemu, James Stewart, and Shane. All came and said hello and took pictures and signed the burger phone.
They did. They signed the burger phone, and apparently that's quite rare because obviously when they're filming, they're working, so they're not there to sort of look at you. You might get a wave off them, which we did. We got I think everybody waved at us while we were watching them filming. They waved at the crowd of us that were there watching.
Yeah.
But Paul and Tanya were like, they don't always come over because they don't always have time. They don't have a huge amount of time to film these things. And it was a really windy day when we went. So I was like, this is going to affect the filming, because no matter where you stood, your hair was blowing around and, your clothes are blowing around. So that's going to affect the sort of shots that they can get as well. So I thought they're refilming all of this because someone's hair probably blew in their face, halfway through the scene or whatever. Yeah. So I thought they're not going to come over and talk to us because the weather conditions suggested to me that they would have to retake quite a lot of these shots over and over again. But they said that we were so lucky because they all came over and said hi. They let us take photos and videos with them and chat to them. It was only like 5-10 minutes, but amazing. It was just to be able to see them up close. And
it was such a pinch yourself day.
It was. It was so strange. But I think that was my favorite out of the two. I think that was probably my favorite one. But then saying that, if you don't do the other one, if you don't do the meet an actor tour, you might not, because on that second day when we went and we just watched the filming for the whole time we were there, and then we got back on the bus, we didn't go and explore Palm Beach as much. We didn't go and look at the surf club for as long as we did. We had about half an hour, didn't we, where we had to run around, take some more photos, go and have a look at the at the surf club.
That was while the crew were on lunch.
Yeah. So we had a lunch break as well, essentially, didn't we? So we ran back up to the surf club building, and we took some more photos that we wished we got on the Sunday, and that was about it. And then we ran back down, didn't we? So I think
in conclusion, you need to do both.
I think you do. I think because you get different things out of them. The Sunday one gives you the time to explore the area yourself and take pictures and take it all in and like get the geography in your head, because then that's where that is and that's where that is, and in relation to where the diner is, where the surf club is and that kind of thing. You get to learn the geography on the and then obviously you're guaranteed to meet an actor on the Sunday one because they come on the bus with you, so that's got its own merits. But then on the Tuesday one, you get to see it all again, but you get to see it with the magic of watching the filming and the possibility that someone might come over and say hi, in the middle of a scene. Yeah. So,
and I suppose if there isn't any filming, they get an actor on anyway. So I suppose you get something.
That's true. So
you get that experience instead.
But if you're choosing the filming likely because you want to see the filming part and you don't see it,
true.
That's going to be disappointing, I think. But
that's true.
So I definitely would recommend doing, if you can, do both of them.
Yeah.
And if you could only do one, think about which one you'd prefer to do in terms of what you want to get out of your day. But also, if we had the time, I think we would have gone back on our own, wouldn't we? And just explored it, maybe gone to the lighthouse and had more time.
Done it a bit slower and
And
I suppose when you don't know the area very well, it's the tour is easy, takes you there, brings you back.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have gone on our own without going on the tour first, because the tour was...
now we've been on the tour, we can probably work. So
feel more confident about the geography as well, and the etiquette about when they're filming, like where to stand and what to do. And
that's true, because there were where we were watching the coffee cart being filmed, there were fans that were there on their own accord, camped out watching, that weren't part of our tour. They were there, gone there themselves.
But they were watching our group to work out what to do, weren't they? Because our group was being led by Paul and Tanya, like, oh, we need to go and stand over here. They've just told us, because they're talking, the people that are on the crew, they know Paul and Tanya, and they tell them instructions, go and stand over there. That's where you're going to see the next scene. and then don't stand there because you're going to be in shot. So they're giving those instructions to them, and then they're getting passed on to us. And then the people that were there on their own were kind of copying what we were doing because they were like, "What? They're going over there. Let's follow them." So I don't think I'd have had the guts to do it on my own without going on the first tour.
Same. It was really good. It was honestly like bucket list.
Yes. Yeah.
And we were like once in a lifetime, and then on the way home we were like, let's do it again. So,
I've done this before. So I went to Australia before. I didn't go to Sydney, and I remember when I came back, I went to Melbourne and I went to Tasmania. And when I came back, this was like 2010, I think. And I was like, it's too far. That was bucket list. I've done Australia. Tick, never going back again. And then a few years later, I was like, I could be convinced to go back because I would like to leave Sydney. And then I said to you, didn't I? I was like, on the way there, I was like, this is it. I'm never going to Australia again. This is it. I've got to do everything this week because this is bucket list, tick, and done. And on the way home, we were like, right, so if we come back next time.
Yeah.
It's so far. I mean, the flight and everything is horrendous. I mean, it's just like, it's so far. And if you're not a person that can sit still for 24 hours, it's a blooming long time to get there. But it is worth it, and we do want to go back because we had such a good time, didn't we? It was so good.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say was your highlight of the Celeb Time tours? You know, the either the meet and actor or the filming likely.
I think it was. I agree with you. The filming likely was just watching the magic happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, even meeting them and them spending time coming over was great. But it was just nice being there in the moment with loads of other people that were fans like you. And we're all nerding out over the same stuff, and everybody knows. Like everyone's like, "Yeah, this is the coffee can." And nobody didn't know what was going on. Like everyone's like, "Oh my god, look!" I was chatting to loads of people, and we're chatting about watching the show, and I was just in my element, you know. So you're just standing there in the 38-degree sun.
Which feels like a lifetime ago now.
I know.
3 layers on a blanket.
Honest, like I could have just stayed in that day forever. Like it was such a good day. Yeah,
I'd agree. And like you say, we spoke to so many people, and there was I've forgotten his name now, but there was a lovely lad that I was talking to for a while we were watching them filming, and he'd done a few before. And he was saying, just before they came over, just before, Leah, Justin and John came over, all the actors came over to talk to us. He was saying, I've done this before, but they didn't come over. We just got a wave. They were really busy. You know, it's quite unlikely on the filming location one that they'll come over and speak to you. And then literally 5 minutes later, I mean, he was elated because he said to me, I'd really like to meet Justin, but obviously, you know, it's unlikely to happen, even though he was right there in front of us. And then 5 minutes later, Justin came over and he was so happy. And I was just watching him getting his photo with Justin, having had that conversation with him, saying, you know, we'd really like to meet him. And then 5 minutes later, it happened. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah. So that was like magical, just to watch someone else get their own like dream come true right in front of you as well. So
it's mad, isn't it?
It was a mad day. It was really, really, really good. Definitely recommend. Celeb Time. If you're on any of the social medias, give them a follow. Have a look at the videos they post, because they do these tours twice a week, and they put stuff up afterwards. You know, little videos and pictures and clips of who's been on the actor tour and any shots of the filming likely tour. If they've seen any filming, you might get spoilers. I will warn you, there's been a couple of spoilers on there recently, because obviously they're filming way in advance to what we've got showing on air right now. So you might see people that you don't recognize. You might see characters doing something that you didn't expect them to do in the current storyline. So you might get some spoilers. But if you're interested in that kind of behind the scenes stuff, it's a fascinating account to follow on social media.
Please take the time to like, subscribe, and review Coastal News wherever you source your podcasts, and ensure you never miss an episode.